Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you Deltarune Chapter 2 for the Nintendo Switch. After 2 agonizingly long years, 3 if you played this on the PC, the next chapter of the Deltarune saga is finally available, and it's free. In fact, it's not even listed as its own game. If you have Deltarune Chapter 1, it's now renamed to Deltarune Chapters 1 plus 2. So what you can do is you can download Chapter 1 and then choose to go straight to Chapter 2, or you can choose to end Chapter 1 and then transfer your progress from that over to this new chapter. Now, why would you want to do that, you ask? Well, every enemy that you spared, if you did a pacifist run, will populate your town near the beginning of the game, and if you manage to beat the secret boss, which I won't spoil just in case you still somehow don't know who that is, you will get the reward for beating the boss, and you'll be able to use that reward in Chapter 2. So, Deltarune Chapter 2 at first glance just seems like more Deltarune, which is not a bad thing at all. I loved the original Deltarune. I thought it was hilarious and funny, and for a free game, it made other games that you had to pay for seem, well, cheap in comparison. This game has a couple of refinements to the system that show that there definitely were more people and more thought put into the system than the original experience, possibly owing to the fact that it took them 2 long years to make this. First of all, some of the other characters can learn how to act eventually instead of just Chris, so that allows the later battles to proceed a lot more smoothly than some of the opening tutorials. The tutorials themselves actually give you rewards if you go through them, even if you already know what you're doing. You can also choose to have storage, which beats out looking for the boxes in the original Undertale. Instead, now you can just go to any save point and get additional items in your inventory if you don't have enough room for them. And then there's the recruitment, which I didn't quite get. I never quite figured out how to actually use the enemies that I recruited. I was told that you could like summon them in battle, but maybe that's only if you're playing on the hurting people route and not if you're trying to play pacifist like I did, so maybe it was a good thing. But from what I've been told, they do populate your town, and I'm sure that'll unlock additional funny dialogue if I ever go back to this. Now, what is Deltarune, just in case you want to go straight into Chapter 2 without playing Chapter 1? I don't know why you would, but there are people out there that like to do things out of order, like whoever made Star Wars. So this is a game where you control a silent protagonist by the name of Chris. He stumbled into another dark world, and now he has a new villain named Queen that he has to take care of. The game plays out in a top-down fashion when you're in the overworld, but once you initiate a battle with an enemy, then the game sort of parodies Final Fantasy, where you've got your party on the left, but then the enemies are on the right. Now, you can choose to fight the enemies if you want to, but if you want the best ending, then you're going to have to try to spare the enemies and win them over by the power of mercy, which is a really cool twist that the original Undertale did. And Deltarune makes it even easier to tell how much further you have to go, because when you choose to act an act of mercy on the enemies, they'll have a meter saying this is how much more you need to be able to spare them. So it makes it a lot easier than just guessing if you can use the pacify spell or not. So that is much nicer. It feels like it makes more sense on how to spare the enemies than it used to, with the exception of those color-coordinated guys. I thought color-coordinated meant something else, but maybe you won't be as silly as I was. I think one of the biggest joys of Deltarune isn't so much playing it, but experiencing it. Yes, the battle system is a lot of fun. It combines bullet hell with strategy of knowing the enemy's personality so that you can know what will cause them to not want to fight you. But also the game has a lot of writing, and it really sells itself on the Toby Fox style humor that we've all come to know and love. This game wasn't as funny as Chapter 1 or Undertale, but it was still pretty enjoyable, and I still got plenty of good laughs. Thankfully, I felt like the humor got better as the game went along, primarily because I felt like the game tried too hard to force shipping and love triangles on the characters in this particular entry, whereas in Chapter 1 I sort of felt like I liked the dynamic of all of them starting out as foes and then working their way towards being friends. I kind of think they were a little bit too sappy this time around, and it didn't really feel like there was as much of a meaningful character development as what Susie went through in the first game. Nevertheless, Susie steals the show with just about every scene she's in. Even the scenes that made me uncomfortable still made me chuckle by the way that she awkwardly said her lines. And Ralsei, of course, continues to be just as naive and innocent as ever, and Chris doesn't talk at all, but I'm starting to think after seeing the ending of this chapter that might play into something in the later chapters. So this is chapter 2 out of 7, which I just found out upon beating this, so don't expect all of the answers from chapter 1 or even this chapter to be resolved after you beat the game. In fact, the ending kind of leaves even more questions than answers. But I think you'll have a good time downloading this. Not only is it free, but it's an update to an already free game, and it manages to provide more of what you really like from Deltarune. In fact, sometimes it even adds on it by improving on what needed to be fixed, and also providing even cooler minigames, such as a Punch-Out ripoff, as opposed to the more in-game puzzles that you had in stuff like Undertale. Now you can actually play new minigames with entirely new rules that often parody other existing video games. And you know me, I always love good inside jokes and references to other games. So with that, I highly recommend you give this a download. If you loved Chapter 2, then you'll love this just as much, maybe a little bit less if you don't like some of the puzzles, but most of them are pretty short, so you can get by them pretty quickly. I also think this is a great way of continuing the hype for the upcoming chapters, and from what I heard, there's even a secret boss that you can discover that'll add a bit of challenge just in case you found the main game too easy. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Please let me know in the comment section if I missed anything and if you have any questions. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and Toby, you should compose more music for Smash Brothers. Your music is actually really cool. Bye!